Hello, Internet. I'm going to be fully transparent with you. I just called myself stupid, and I realized you weren't going to hear that because I'm not going to upload that because I accidentally recorded this video starting in landscape. The angle of my camera wasn't quite enough to recognize that it was in a landscape mode instead of a portrait, so I started recording that vertical video. Just so you know, if you ever record vertical video, go jump off a bridge. No, that's a bit harsh. We don't want to be that harsh, but seriously, vertical video looks terrible no matter where you look at it. Even if you look at it on another phone or another device, it really just is not the way to go. So if you ever catch yourself shooting vertical video, stop, re-record, so that, you know, everybody can enjoy that content the way it should be looked at. So anywho, what are we looking at today? We kind of started off a little rough. I insulted you, possibly. I insulted myself. Let's get over that, and let's take a look at this guy. Now, I've been wanting to review this for a little while because I've had it for a little while, and you know, I've just had so much kind of review. It's actually going to start slowing down. I might do a little walk and talk on that here in a little bit, which you probably would have seen if I do it yesterday. We'll see, because this will be Wednesday, I think, when I upload this. We have the stainless steel Talisman. Ooh. I was trying to do that, but a little more subtly. A little more subtle. So we've got the stainless steel Talisman. I went for the deep stone wash. Look how good it looks, bud. Rip it, bud. Rip it. Look at it and rip it. Looks gorgeous. Fantastic. So it comes with these, much like the other version. Also comes with, so in this case, hang on, I'm 99% sure. Let me make sure I'm not going crazy. Yeah, so it comes with a different bearing that's in here, but both of them have come with this separate, again, looks exactly like a Spinetic 8-ball nylon cage, which is a really sweet bearing. One of the few 8-balls I'm running into out there, hybrid ceramic nylon cage, good feedback. Really good bearing, really enjoying those bearings. So for nothing else, it's a chance to get a good secondary bearing. But this is the, I believe he said, the same bearing that comes in the Sonder, which the Sonder guys upgraded their bearing from their version 1 to their version 2. So the first 150 pieces of theirs, I believe it was 150, was their kind of version 1. But it's got a good bearing, feels good in there. So, and we know Fabian loves his hybrid ceramics with the full stainless steel cage, 10 balls. I myself prefer an 8-ball these days, but I got nothing against a good 10-ball hybrid ceramic. In fact, Hex Super Bearings, the HC2s, are kind of my preferred bearing. So, and it's funny, if you watch Fabian's videos, if you don't, go watch his most recent one on the Thrax Mini. He makes kind of a lot of comments regarding bearings and getting the right bearing and the right spinner, which I agree wholeheartedly with. That's one of the reasons I recommend everybody have a handful of bearings to kind of test and throw in, because you're not limited to the bearing that comes in it by the manufacturer, right? So whoever's making these guys, even if they think that's the best bearing for you, you can try a different bearing in there and see what you like for yourself. So this is a pretty smooth bearing, just a little bit of feedback, but really nice and smooth, kind of brushy. I wouldn't call it grassy, I'd call it kind of brushy. But again, look at the gorgeous stone wash on here. Looks delicious. We can see a little bit of the machining marks through it. I've had this for a little while, so some of these scratches and stuff like this, I've had it for probably, boy, 2 or 3 weeks, maybe more. I don't remember. Probably more. Time flies when you're having fun. So, so again, like a little dent or something like that, which is one pretty minor. We're not going to consider that because the machining, I feel like, is fine. There's nothing to be concerned with. So, what can we expect from this guy? Well, we talked about it with our last one. We're going to talk about it a little bit more with this one. One is the extras. One, the nice little plastic carrying case is kind of neat. Extra bearing, extra button. These are Ultra Spinners buttons. Now for me, I might need to hit this with like a brush or something because these edges feel a little sharp on this button. And I just don't really, I got to be honest, I'm not a fan of these buttons. They're not terrible by any means, but I do prefer this that came. Oh, look, I have them with me. Yep, sure do. I prefer these style buttons that came with it before. Something about the color, the lines, the smaller addition here with these steps works, where with, I run into these little things on the outside and I just don't find them comfortable. So it's not an enjoyable experience for me. I don't know what I'm going to do with these buttons. Maybe I'll flame them, maybe, I don't know, who knows. So they might just randomly end up in someone's giveaway or something I sell, who knows. But a couple things. He did upgrade the buttons on these guys. So one of the criticisms he got was these buttons were a little shallow before, and we're going to take these off now so that I can show you. They also reduced the point on there. I know old average Singaporean Ben was a little scared. Sorry, it's getting a little cold. My fingers don't work like they used to when it's cold. You know that cold finger feeling? Right? It's a balmy 33 degrees and snowing. Right, go watch yesterday's video if you didn't. You'll see me show off the snow. It's right in the beginning of the video too, so if you don't want to watch the whole video, although you should, that's kind of a neat spinner. So that was this guy, right? The bear float reel. But if you look, it's a little wider around, right? Like if we put it, kind of line it up top to bottom, it's a little taller, so it's got a little wider edge, but it's also a little taller up and down this way, right? So the buttons themselves are stacked a little higher. So it just gives you a little extra clearance. I didn't mind these too bad, but these definitely feel better. But what I really do appreciate, because for me these buttons aren't that bad, is I'm really loving the contrast of brass buttons on stainless steel spinners. Now, I should say these buttons originally stick a little bit, so when you're trying to take them out, they kind of stick. You really want to, like, use the button to kind of push them out when you're taking them out. And I haven't seen that be the issue with the stainless steel one, so the tolerances might be just a little bit better, at least with the set that I got. But I saw I'm not the only one that had the problem with these buttons kind of sticking in there, so. All right, look at that. That looks good, doesn't it? And again, getting a good pinch grip, you're still all right. Again, it is kind of flat, so it is pretty easy to bump into the spinner with this. But it's still enough to do table spins. And it just looks gorgeous. So let's throw these buttons on. Bum, ba, da, ba. What? Look at that. I don't know if I've really shown this off. I think I've shown it off in some live streams and I've put up pictures. And you guys can see I did swap the bearing to put in the... Or actually, no, I think this one came with that one in it. I'm pretty sure this one came with that one in it. And then just came with a second spare bearing. But you can really feel the difference with these buttons. Like, it's just a little bit, but it does make a pretty significant difference for most people. I'm definitely aware of the difference and definitely prefer these buttons, but I can make these work, and I love the look of that. So I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of the look. But I wanted to show this off. Like, this took an excellent hammering. So it might be starting to patina a little bit, but it's got a really cool look, really fun. Look at that. Looks gorgeous. And then you can also do this. What? All right, but we're mainly here talking about this guy today, but it's worth kind of revisiting this guy because this form factor is one of my favorites. So if you've seen my videos, you've seen me rate this guy pretty highly. We'll put you over here so you're a little out of the way. Rate this guy pretty highly. It's been in my top 10 since it really could qualify. So, and why does that work? Well, this is still excellent, right? This is like the perfect finger groove for flicking, for pulling, flicking, pulling, flicking, pulling, stopping and starting, interrupting a spin, so you don't have to stop it. And you can hear that bearing. I think it needs another clean. Now, I didn't go too crazy on the spin times on this guy. We were talking about fidgeting, but I don't want to forget about spin time. I didn't go crazy testing the spin time on this guy. I did get about 5 minutes on a table spin and around 7 minutes on a vertical. I'm sure I could get more out of it than that, giving this bearing a really good clean now that I've used it a bit. But the reality is the way the weight is distributed, this isn't meant to be a super long spinner. It's got some good weight. Speaking of which, let's weigh it. It's got some good weight, so I know it's capable of some pretty good spin times, right? We're looking at 93 grams versus 93.4. Whoops. Do that one more time. Make sure we're, 93.4, 93.5 versus 103, right? So about a 10-gram difference. And the buttons are probably not throwing it off too much. These buttons are brass, but they're a little smaller. I'm sure this is actually probably reducing weight because this is reduced more than I think the difference in material would make. But so this is probably making this a little heavier and this a little lighter, very slightly. But again, spin time isn't something that we're too concerned with this guy. It's got plenty of spin time for what it needs. If you really want a spin time spinner, go get yourself a Triton V2. But this guy is just fantastic. It's still as fantastic as ever to fidget with. Getting good preloaded flicks. Really good. Pushing off, pulling. It's just everything about the way it's designed. It looks good. It feels good. Excellent quality spinner. So it's like, it's like the guy knows something about spinners. So I don't know if he's mentioned, I feel like he's sort of hinted at doing other materials and might have even actually done more than hinting, but I can't remember. don't remember if he was going to do like a copper or something or titanium, but these two materials for my taste are excellent. And he offered this in a bunch of different finishes. There was a machine finish, there was a blasted finish, I think there was some sort of a polished finish, and then there was the stone wash finish. I personally chose the stone wash because it's a nice deep stone wash that is almost like my ideal stone wash that I can't quite get in the rig that I've got set up with the media that I've got. I need to try some essentially like smaller river stones and see if I can get that sort of finish myself. But as it stands right now, it's just beautiful, and I figure let's let the pros do it. So yeah, and I'm pretty sure this was done by the Ultra Spinners guys, and he did offer a package where you could get this and one of their new ring spinners. I did not opt for that. I sort of almost wish I did, but at the same time, still not a huge ring spinner guy. I've got a couple I keep at my desk, and they are nice to grab, but when I'm sitting at home or when I'm about to go out, I'm never like, let me grab a ring spinner. But again, they're super nice to have around. Anyway, it's not really what we're talking about. So there's really not much more I think that can be said about this guy, other than the fact that, again, it is an amazing fidgeting style. So despite it being a little large, it's sort of or not large, heavy. Right, this is a little on the heavier side for most people. Anytime you crack that 85 gram range, you start to get into what I would consider the heavier territory, and it goes up quite a bit from there, obviously. Right, we got that 165 gram Zen-Tri. Zen Duo Evo. The Zen-Tri Evo should be a beast. Can't wait for that. I'm really excited to try that based on how much I enjoyed the Zen Duo Nano. But it doesn't fidget quite as large because, you know, when you think about where the mass is, right, you've got good leverage with reduced mass on the outside. So it's almost sort of like the opposite of this, but in a good way. You know, where I was talking about, you can pull in here and you're kind of pulling against the, you're not getting the most leverage out of it. So you're kind of working against the spinner in a nice, comfortable way. This is the opposite. Like, this gives you all the mechanical advantage you need, right? You've got the leverage. You've got the Archimedes standing on a platform with a stick lifting the world, right? Great, excellent finger grooves. Despite it being polished, you've got these really excellent rounded arms here, so your fingers can get plenty of grip. It doesn't need like a texture on the outside. I think there's something to be said where it would be pretty neat if it had a taper downwards, sort of like we saw on the Atrium spinner. Because you're already reducing the weight on the arms, I think that would give it kind of an interesting feel, an interesting characteristic. But at the same time, this keeps it real nice and simple. The Triforce of Power, the Mitsubishi, the Tritsubishi. Put some Trit slots in here. So, Dremel it out yourself, phone a friend, you know. So, and again, the buttons have been updated, so really, really nice. And having the two of these, something else that's worth saying, now it's hard to, you know, I kind of have to go back and do this, you know, retrospectively, because this has been hammered now, so it clearly has a different feel and a different finish. But there's something different to the feel. Listen to the spin. You're probably hearing it a lot louder than I am. There's something different about the two materials. This clearly feels a little bit heavier. It doesn't really fidget, again, like a heavy spinner, but this is a spinner I don't mind having in two materials because they do feel a bit different. It can be a little bit hard to explain, but you can feel that this is a softer, more malleable metal and a little heavier, where this feels a little more, solid's not the right word. I guess solid, right? Like, it feels a little harder. Where this feels softer, despite, like, my fingers certainly aren't coming anywhere near denting this, so it's not like I should be able to really feel the density, right? But if you feel a piece of wood and you feel a rock, you can kind of tell the difference in density, right? Even though you're not, like, squishing a rock and you're not squishing a piece of wood. You know, there's enough characteristic differences there. And while these are much more subtle than that example, they're still there. So, what else? What else can we say? Downsides, hard to think of any. Really can't think of any. It's well machined. It fidgets extremely well. It is a world-class top 10 spinner for sure. For sure. We'll see what happens when I do my next top 10. When I actually sit them down and start spinning them, we'll see where it lines up. So let's. You can also do this if you really wanted to. If I get it just right, hang on. Yeah, they're going to bump. I kind of had it spinning right earlier at my desk, but again, my hands are cold and it's kind of not really the... But they kind of would gently touch and then they would kind of... Yeah, there we go. Anywho, they're kind of fun. They're fun. I dig these, so I'm a huge fan of them. I'm a huge fan of what's happening over there on the spin space scene, so... We dig it. We give it 2 cold, awkward thumbs up. So we're going to leave it at that, Internet. 15 minutes, I think, is enough to wax, maybe not poetic, but because I don't think I've been poetic, but, you know, wax about these guys. So, and again, you know, much like a lot of my first looks, you know, when I last looked at this, not a whole lot has changed. I think I was preferring these buttons last time. I've been moving these buttons around. I haven't found a good home for them. I was using them on my Tri-Fidget for a while, and I liked them there. But I since have switched that to the superconductor buttons from Zero Feud. You know, that's a set of shoes right there for sure. These are pretty cheap buttons, all things considered. I think you can get them under 20 bucks. So, oh, you know what else? I didn't bring it with me. I had a set of Neospin Macaroon Sandman buttons that were absolutely perfect on this guy. And I forgot to bring it with me today. And I had no idea what's going on with Neospin. They may be... Who knows what's going on? There's been kind of a lack of communication, and I don't know if stuff is still shipping from them, which is a shame because they had some pretty good buttons. So... Anyway, Internet, we're just yammering here. So we're gonna give you the old let me just show these off here one more time. And they also kind of look cool side by side, right? And you can see that's not a flat arm. There's a little bit of a taper there. I mentioned it the last time, but it just adds to the flicking. You know, your finger runs into that and can push off that a little bit better. So absolutely wonderful fidgeters. Should be in everybody's collection. This is one of the must-have pieces in my opinion. So anywho, Internet, I love you. I will talk to you later. Kisses.